Here we are, out in nature, where you may see a bear, depending on where you are, or a squirrel. You might meet someone you didn't know, and you'd see all kinds of things, rugged terrain and places that you do know. But most of all, you'll find stories. You've been invited to a place so that people can gather and tell stories around the campfire. Are you ready? Are you ready to tell that story that people will lean in just to hear it? Are you ready to tell that soft story that they lean in because it's a precious moment? Are you ready? Well, I've been telling stories for years, and I'd like to just tell you a little bit on how to tell a successful story. I'm going to give you a few tips. Come with me. Are you ready? We're ready to begin. I can't wait to start. We just have to take that first step and get ready to tell. People think that you start a story with once upon a time. However, that delays curiosity. You want to grab their attention. Now, if it's a fairy tale, many fairy tale markers are once upon a time. But what if I said once when there was no time? Now you're wondering, what happened? Where did time go? You have to sync them to the story. What if I got up and said, today I went off to the woods and I heard a noise unlike I've ever heard before, and it said my name. You have to grab their attention. So the biggest thing is, are you delaying the story? Which you can in suspense, but if you're just starting the story, you want to move them with that first sentence. That's a good tip when you begin your story. I want to take some time to talk about how to start a story. As you can see, I really enjoy playing with stories. I think we can play out loud, we can talk to a friend about our ideas, and there's a lot that comes from play. But we need to remember, don't be boring. Don't say, this is my story and I want you to hear it. Don't tell the listener how to listen to a story. Grab their attention. Have you heard, show, don't tell? So don't be ordinary. Don't think, oh, once upon a time, or I have a story to tell, really grabs our attention, because it doesn't. We want to be able to say something like, the night was quiet, but only for 10 minutes. It delays attention. You want to know what's going on, but at the same time is interesting enough to listen more. A possible story starter is the quiet boy. The one who stood in the back said, how come no one knows that I come from the stars? Think. That makes you think immediately about the story. When we're out in the woods, late at night, by ourselves, or even with someone else, we hear eerie noises that can't be explained. Sometimes it's just an animal, but all the time, we don't know. For that moment, we're kept in suspense. The same is true in good story making. Keep the listener, or if you're writing it, the reader in suspense. Don't tell every leaf of every tree. Let us fight for it so that we can see the mystery behind the sound, so that we can see what we don't see by the way you tell us, through your voice, through your words. Keep us in suspense. It's a fun ride to go on when making stories. We often hear that a plot is the most important thing about story, but I disagree with that. Character and trouble make good stories. And one way that you build character, one way you build the trouble or the conflict, is to keep your reader or your listener in suspense. Leave the story a mystery. This sometimes can happen at the very end where you don't figure out who did it. Or some other place. Be unpredictable. Take us on curved journeys, places you didn't think we were going to go, but you as the storyteller took us there. Twist the tale. A possible suspense time in a story. She locked every door, shut and locked every window, but she could still hear breathing somewhere under the bed. I bet you can keep us suspense when telling your story. Why don't you try it now? We're waiting in suspense. I was once asked, where do you grab someone's attention in a story? When you're telling a story, or even when you're writing a story? Is it the beginning, the middle, or the end? And you know, in the beginning you can grab someone like a bullet shot, but it only stays as long as the bullet goes. When you're telling a story or you're writing a story, you need to think of grabbing their attention throughout. It's not just about one shot and let it go. It's about grabbing and sustaining their attention. When you're telling, you're looking. Are they looking sleepy? Then you need to wake them up. You need to say, and the bear was as big as I am times 3. Or do you need to slow down? I never knew the man. All I knew is he always carried a silver pistol on his left side. You need to realize, where can you get the attention most? It's not about sentences. It's about moments. It's about moments of keeping your audience. It's about moments of keeping your reader interested, sustained. Believe me, don't let them leave you, because it's hard to bring them back. But you can do that through delay. You can pause. And the woman sat there. She'd never seen something so eerie in her life. She took one giant breath and said it slowly. If that's true, then I'm dead already. You see, you need to grab their attention throughout the telling or writing of a story. Now that you've been telling your story, how do you end your story? That's a good question as well. You don't want to simply just say, the end. There is no more. You want to find a way to end the story. There are cultural and ceremonial ends. There's an ending in Ireland, whether they lived happily ever after, That's none of my business, nor yours. Or Africa. Elo bin, my story is at end. Snip, snap, shout, my story is told out. But you want to find a way that you wrap up the ending. My friend, colleague, Cheyenne Native American poet Lance Henson said, "Stories are gifts. It's up to us to take them and receive them." You've given this gift. You've given it with an introduction that entices the listener and the reader. You've made sure that they're paying attention. But just like a gift that you get that you never want to forget, you store it. And it has a different ending every time. It might end with the same words, but because of the audience connection, you end it a different way. You wrap it up if you're going to another story, or you wrap it up because the program says, wrap it up. Let us linger with the story, because I'm going to tell you a little secret. The story stays with the audience after you've told it. If you've told it well, they'll think about that man in the woods. They'll think about the first time your mother gave you a birthday present, or whatever you're choosing to do. The story will stay with them if you wrap it up in such a way that it's like a tight bow, but it doesn't have to end. We don't have to know what the mysterious sound was. We don't have to know the next year of your grandpa. We just simply need to know this moment has some closure so that we don't have to worry anymore. We also have to look for the safety for our audience. If someone's scared, maybe we wrap it by reeling back. Maybe we just look out and say, and the rest of the story, I haven't the time to tell you. You're the storyteller. You're the gift giver. It is up to you to take the gift, give the gift, and the audience to receive the gift. There's nothing like telling a story or writing a story, then telling it. It is a beautiful gift, especially when you're outdoors and you know that they're listening. Give your gifts, but wrap it up in a way that we will remember it. Thank you. For now, I need to leave, but it's not forever. Let's talk about closing a story. Think about it. It just wraps it up. It doesn't necessarily make it a finished thing, but it sends the message of this story is done for now. Don't finish the tale, just wrap it up. And what I mean by that is something has to end, but not everything in the story. There can be room for speculation, or to think, wow, who was Little Red Riding Hood's father? And just tease it at the very end. And the father came home and said, I heard Red was in the woods. But that is a different story. Give it closure, but it doesn't have to be complete. Avoid again being ordinary. Reach out and tell your tale. A possible ending, the creature stayed away, and that is until she grew up, and her little girl, now a mom herself, strayed in the woods. Notice it doesn't end. It creates a mystery about what happens next, but it still has a sense of being wrapped up. So good luck with your stories. I know you'll do well. They're gifts that we give to each other. Thank you. now that the fires are going down, and maybe the last story is told for tonight, I want you to keep in mind just the tips that I've given you, and maybe the tips you find along the way. The more you tell stories, just like the fire, the more you put kindling, the more you place wood on the flame, it'll grow. And the beautiful thing is that stories will spread like wildfire, but in a good way. We will feel the warmth because we're actively listening to each other. So I look forward to the next time that you come to a park, to even your backyard. Grab a few friends, sit down, tell a story. A ghost story that happened in your hometown. A story that you made up maybe 3 nights before and practiced and come along. A story that's only told in the family that you can tell to your family again. Stories bring us together, and you can be part of that. And the fire doesn't have to end. It just needs another log to let it burn. Until next time, keep telling, keep writing, and keep on, because we need your stories. This is Kevin Cordi, professional storyteller, saying for now, good night, and may stories find you wherever you go.